Right, we are back with part 2 of the Brett Murray interview. This was an absolutely awesome interview. If you haven't seen part 1, really go and watch it. We just had a great talk and a great laugh about just random things involving on the person that is Brett. We had a little bit of rallying and just some random questions. Me and him had a little bit of Tarantino fan fiction like moment and what have you. So go check out part 1, and now we're into part 2. Now we're going to talk about the rallying a lot more. We're going to talk about the BTRDA, the Forest, the single venues, and a lot of stuff like that. So again, do them YouTube things, click subscribe, click the bell, click the like button, drop us a comment, get involved. If you're a driver, hit us up, or if you're a marshal or a photographer, hit us up. Let's get on there. Let's make this community that we want, and this positive community that we want. Again, it's just me, so me and Brett kind of talk on it. I don't have Mr. Andrew to keep me in check, so I do apologise. It's 45 minutes, but it's a great interview. So yeah, enjoy, stay safe, catch you later. Let's get into the rallying then, and the motorsport, what we're all here for. This is why Andrew's supposed to be here, because he stops me from going on too long about other things that don't matter.
It's two of us. There's probably a bad combination.
Yeah, probably. I'll just talk forever. So into the motorsport side of things then. So what was like sort of growing up influences? Like, did you get much from, obviously you drive with your dad? Like, was there much of an influence there, or where did that kind of motorsport love come from?
Well, even my sort of early memories were Dad was involved with a local motor club that was organising events. He was running events over at Bovingdon.
Right, yeah.
And just even at a young age, can remember even doing some event or helping on some event or just having some involvement in the background of motorsport. And then I think the motor club ceased at some point, and it was just at a point where I think he'd brought his escort, his stage rally escort, and it was in the back garden, and that was, I didn't have a garage, it was the back garden is where it stayed. And I can remember just mucking about in there with my brothers just like you do as a kid, like in the so there was always the sort of undercurrent of motorsport and cars just in the house all the time, really. And it was the Formula One was probably the first thing that I got into with it. It was on BBC TV. It was easy at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was there for everybody to see. And the whole Senna thing in '94, I can sort of remember like yesterday. And there was, even though that was going on, being the sort of main interest, and I think Senna was someone I sort of idolise. It was my hero as a kid. Like, they all look at sort of Spider-Man now and Batman and that, but that was what he was to me at that age, and it was like real life superhero, that bloke. Like, and there was the undercurrent of McRae coming through as well.
Yeah.
And when I always say, I think it's always a bit of a coincidence how '94 happened with Senna and the Formula One sort of, I don't know whether it becomes something I just didn't really want to watch because of what had happened, or whether it definitely had an influence with me interest in it somehow, some way at a young age.
Yeah.
And then '95 was McRae's year at Subaru to win, and I think that happening, and then McRae, sort of taking the championship by storm, a British driver, and then he went and won it at, a British event sort of thing. And that sort of going on in the background as well. I think there was only ever going to be one way. It was, motorsport was the thing.
Yeah, no, that's very, very cool. It's kind of cool to hear that you sort of had that, internal influence with like your family and being at, and then the actual what was on the sport then on the TV, and like you got to, and that's really cool to hear.
I always think that's a big problem that sort of motorsport has. In general at the moment. I think it's across, because I mean even the rallycross, you used to get a bet on the TV years ago, you know, and I think everywhere used to have a platform. It's not just a platform on the TV, it's a platform on the TV that is available to everybody.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, that's the problem I think that all motorsport's got at the minute. There's, you know, other than the touring cars, I think on ITV, it's very limited coverage of motorsport on TV.
Yeah, that's I mean, you know, a lot of stuff's moved onto YouTube, and you know, you kind of have some of the track sort of stuff on there, you know, like the 750 MC and.
But then I always say that I think that the YouTube thrives because of the lack of it.
Yes.
You know, that's why that platform has become monumental in a lot of coverage of all sort. You know, it's live streams and review videos, and there's people and companies out there that are doing it, because otherwise, how else would you know what's out there?
Exactly. That's it. You know, and I think between that and, you know, but there's so many as well going on pay-per-view subscription. You know, all that stuff now. You know, if you take World Rally, you take Rally, and there's more and more coming. That I think you're right. I know, and I sort of said this to you earlier. Like for me, growing up, and I was heavily influenced by motorbikes. But for me, growing up, like, you know, watching the likes of, you know, like Rossi, who's literally throughout my entire life as this figure, and you know, Carl and all the other people there, like. That was so fundamental to literally, you know, staying on with you know, getting through life and what have you. And I do believe, you know, like my love of motorsport came from that. It was this way you could watch these people, and the personalities were so big. You know, if you take Rossi back then, like
I find that always, you know, I know there are personalities involved now, and there is, but I think the massive personalities that you used to get, that, you know, it wasn't mentor to this is what you've got to say. Play yourself. They could answer on pure passion and feeling, and you know, both, like I say, Senna and McRae were both ones that would just say what they thought, and. They, you know, there wasn't really, not that they weren't bothered about upsetting people, but it was, you know, the passion and the feeling that they had. It was there for you to see, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely, that's it. You know, I mean, obviously you do get personalities now, and good personalities. You know, you take someone like Vettel, for instance, like what a guy he is. You know, but
they do it. They're doing it. I find, like Vettel, I think he does it a lot more subtly. You know, it's a bit more subliminal. You sort of, sometimes you've got to read between the lines in what he says.
That's
but it. You sort of get the gist of what he's getting at, even though he's sort of ticked all the sort of correct boxes.
Yeah, that's it. And it's, you know, I mean, I watch a few YouTubers and what have you, but there is a difference, I think, now. You don't get that. You know, it doesn't become part of your life, I think, as much. But then, you know, you get out there, you know, like, you know, rallying and rallycross, for instance, for me, you know, I haven't got to many this year with things going on at home, like, but there's something when you're there and you're accessible and you're around the people. It's one of those things that, like, it's why I like doing interviews with people like yourself. You know, I like hearing about people with that passion, because you want to hear about them, you want to see it, you want to feel it more and more.
They're always the ones that, you know, they say are likeable characters and everything. It's the ones that give you a true reflection of, you know, that passion and feeling they've got for what they're doing. That, you know, that win over the people, because that's what you want. You know, that's what we all start doing it for. Even at this level, is just because you've got a passion for it, and a feeling for it. And if you get to that point where you're a paid racing driver, then that's still what you want to see.
That's it, that's it. Passion is everything, I think, with that. 100%.
it's when you watch back, like say, some of Senna's interviews are masterpieces.
Mm.
Just what it comes off with on the tip of his tongue, and just can just slam people in an instant. I mean, Prost, the one that springs to mind sitting there is when Prost got the seat at Williams, and had said in the contract that he didn't want Senna as a driver, as a teammate, and he didn't want Mansell as a teammate.
Yeah.
And I think Mansell had won the Grand Prix, and they were sitting at the press conference, and he just slammed him, and he said, "What's the point of coming racing if you're going to have the best car and then won't have either me or him in the seat with him? Like, what's the point of racing? How are you going to call yourself a world champion if you can't beat me or him on a level playing field?"
Yeah.
You almost can't say that to people. They almost don't like you to say that in the interviews now. But the passion and feeling that he had for, people say it was hatred. It's not hatred. That's the other thing that people don't understand. Mm. There's a level of respect when you get down into, these rivalries. You know full well that that's the one person that's going to beat you on the day.
Yeah.
You don't beat them. It's not hate.
No.
It's a threatening thing where you think, right, we've got a fight here. We've got to go at this. You can't be their best buddy and say, "Oh yeah, you're good," and hold your elbows in as you go past them.
I think that's it though. In sport in general, and not just in motorsport. Like I take when I was in competitive sports. You could be your mates with these other people. You're laughing. You're doing whatever you do. But when it came down to that moment on that competition, and that thing, it didn't matter. You were against them. It's you versus the world. And want anything bad, and you still mates afterwards. You're still gonna be like having a laugh and everything. But
it's a lot of rivalries that you have at top level. 9 times out of 10, you'll find out a few years later that they're actually quite alright with each other.
Yeah.
Now they're not against each other. Yeah. There's not a friendship and a respect that they can't deny that they are that good. Yeah. And Senna and Prost, it happened. Lauda and Hunt's another one. They're quick to they were quick to back each other. Yeah. And I'm sure you go through a list of other rivalries throughout.
It's like
throughout the generations and the sports that once they've stopped, there's some friendship there and a level of respect.
It's like the saying in it of Lauda in the film where he was at the end of it, he said about him that he was the only one he ever actually respected, or something like that, and he was just like
he was the only person he actually envied.
Yeah, that was it, envied. Yeah, and he was just like, oh.
Yeah, these two guys, they were chalk and cheese, and I reckon if you would have got James Hunt in the right time and mindset, that he possibly would have said the same.
Yeah, I do.
Had Hunt been like Lauda was, would he have won more championships? Would he have been more than he was? Not that he wanted him to. He was a great character and a world champion.
Yeah, a fast driver.
He wanted it more that day. Yeah. That's what it was about.
Yeah, that's it. It's and I think even that it adds something to motorsport and it adds something to sport. And I think you've got a development of social media now as well, that things become instant, things become built up as well, and if one thing I dislike about modern F1 is actually like the amount of I suppose like fan hate and things you get in there, and you're like, these guys are best drivers in the world. Whatever you think of them, like they are going out doing okay. The safety factor is obviously a higher level now than it ever has been, but they're still going out in these machines doing G-forces and speeds and putting on a show.
Yeah.
And then when and I got sort, especially when I was doing the journalism stuff, and I was in a lot of groups, and I'd just turn off my notifications on F1 weekend because it drive me insane. And I don't know how much that's had an impact on life. You know, I think obviously we can remember probably, you know, before social media,
Yeah.
which is scary when I speak to my brother-in-laws who don't know what pre-internet was, and then makes you feel old.
See, I think because of living like that, I always look at people with the sort of hate and negative comments in that, and just think, oh, just I'm not bothered. Like
Yeah,
I'm not gonna react. I'm not interested. I don't know. 9 times out of 10, you don't know who they are. It's I do wonder sometimes if it's, you know, it's we live in a time now where negativity seems to get the momentum more than the positivity.
unfortunately, yeah, you're right.
And I sort of think, are you just trying to get noticed somehow by starting a negative thought chain just to progress down the line and snowball into, you know, you don't have to look at the televised news every day. It's negativity, negativity, bit more negativity. There might be a small little snippet of something positive at the end, like,
Yeah.
and you just think, oh, don't buy into it.
No, that's you're right there. It is very much focused upon that way of life, and you know that is what seems to sell, or that's what gets blown up out of proportion.
Yeah.
And you know, I often think sometimes, like when you get all this stuff going on, it's like, what do they actually think? What do the drivers actually think? You know, and sometimes you probably never quite find out. But
I think that's where a driver like Kimi Raikkonen always excelled, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, get asked a daft question or something that you just, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
You know, and the comments that come out of that guy on such a regular basis for, you know, waste of time, media questions in conferences, and you just, you know, it could just flatten them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Don't know where to go next. Aye. Right, I suppose moving on then before we get sidetracked down more of tangents on that. So was the 2020 you started rallying? Was that like your first taste of motorsport in terms of competing?
I did go-karting as a teenager.
Yep. Cool.
And that was just at the local kart club on like a kids championship on the rent kart.
Nice.
And me and my two brothers started doing that. It ended up being just me and one other, carried on for a while.
Nice.
And well, I must have done that from, I suppose, about the age of, maybe between the ages of 12 and 16.
Nice, quite a while then.
And yeah, so just give me a taste and a feel from it. Then when you got to 16, it was, you couldn't go and play with the kids anymore. You got to go, and the sort of money involved. And it just, you know, it just wasn't a reality to go and, you know, you got to supply your own cart and things like that at the time. And it just wasn't really a reality, you know, a reality thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then sort of left school and got involved with an accident repair garage and started doing an apprenticeship.
Nice.
Then through there, Andy started at that point doing some rallying with my brother co-driving. So it was natural for them to say, we need somebody to service, and just started doing that. And, you know, I'd even enjoy doing that now, I think. It's just being in and around and involved, and, you know, the feeling of it all happening. And it was always entertaining with them because it was a nightmare, to be fair. I would have got the umph if I was my old man, I think. Just always something seemed to go wrong.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you were out with us at Duke Fizz, and it was never really anything needed doing.
No.
You know, it was...
It's the most chilled out thing I've ever been to.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like that when we were doing it with Dad. It was like you'd come in and like the exhaust was wrapped around the rear axle and you had to straighten it out and no, we haven't got a spare one, and bolt it back on, and then he'd come back and it'd happen again. And it was just... it just carried on like that with every... I think the only event he finished was one where we had gearbox trouble, and I think the only gears he had were second, second and fourth or something. It was all like the top half of the gearbox he couldn't select. And it was like he finished. I'll give it to him. He finished the event, and like, he might have come third or second in class or something.
Nice.
And it was like, right, if you can finish an event, you might be all right here. Like you've got a trophy today and your gearboxes, but we're just not finishing them. And it just carried on for a few events like that until I forget what it was. There was a problem, and it was quite involved and financially heavy to sort out, and it just sort of quietened down again. And then I suppose a few years after that, he had the car ready, and we went and done. I think we'd done about 3 events with me co-driving, and then once again, I think we blew the engine up on the last one. So once again, it was a bit of a, and to be honest, I don't think we've, other than get it back on the road, his escort, get it back on the road and take it to a few club meets and shows and everything. I don't think it's ever been out competitively again, sort of thing. But I keep telling him to get on with it. But no, that was sort of the progression of motorsport over. I suppose it was over, but stop-start for about 15 years, and we were doing a bit of marshalling here and there as well. Just involvement in that way of a sense. And I went and marshalled at Snezerton that must have been 2020, and it was just before we had all the lockdown and all that. And I come out there and just looking at that event, the number of the 1400 Class A sort of thing, there was a lot of them, and it was the old cogs started turning, and there's got to be a lot of these for a reason. And went home and started scrolling through eBay. Oh look, these are like affordable, like compared to the escort prices. This is bloody not affordable.
No,
but
soon as you get that,
and I had the thing that made me flip and went, right, this is what I'm doing, was I had a massive retro game collection, Sega Mega Drive, Super Nintendo. I had the lot with all the games that you could ever like. Oh, what about this one? Yeah, I had it all, but just sat in the loft, and it come out once in a blue moon. You'd play for a little while, and then it was cluttering the house, so it'd all go back up in the loft. Like there was never anywhere for it, and I just sat there and I itemised everything I had with a brief idea of what I thought the condition was, and sent it off to a guy. And I said to the wife, I said, I thought if I get a few £100 for it, I'll put it towards the car. Well, I think it was the next day I ended up with an offer of £2,000 for all this. Yeah, it was like, right, come and get it now.
Before you change your mind, come on.
Yeah, it was a done deal, to be fair, and just. I didn't expect it to be that sum of money. And the thing was, it's like my wife said to me, if you just sat there and sold it all individually, you'd probably got more for it.
Yeah.
But I just wanted it all to go without the hassle, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that was it. And then I was on the eBay looking what was available, and this MGZR come up at what I thought was a good price for a car that was ready to go. All the seats were in date. They said it was, I think the only thing that they mentioned on there was a slight crunching on third gear or something. But then I did a bit of research, and it wasn't a lot of money to have it rebuilt. So shall I do it? Shall I do it? Sort of stewed on it. Messaged the guy, done a deal on the price, and brought it. went for it. So that was, sort of getting the car, and I don't think I'd look back. It's a million times better than a load of old Mega Drive games, and I like them.
Yeah, I say that. Yeah.
But I do more with this. That's the thing. I've done more with it and got more enjoyment out of that than I have what was in the loft at the time.
Yeah, Yeah, and that's it. And you've got, years now, and it's like you're doing it with your dad co-driving and stuff, and like it becomes a big thing, and
Yeah.
it's cool.
But where it's taken us as well over the last 3 years has been a sort of, it's been a bit mind blowing at times, to be honest. I think I mean, that was the other thing. It was ready to go. So we were then looking. That was the back end of February in 2020, and it was like, oh, I'll just go and do this, and oh no, the entries are full, and oh, I'll go and do this, oh, the entries are full, and there wasn't any entries out at the time.
Yeah.
That were full, so it was waiting for regs to come out on different events. And then, well, I'd had the car for 2 weeks, and the country got locked down, and everything stopped, and
Yeah.
I must have sat there looking at the car for a good 6 weeks, just thinking, am I ever going to do anything with this? After all these years of this is what I want to do, and I've got one, and I can't do it now.
Yeah.
But that led me down the path then of all my social media, sort of having the head and engine work done that I did do. I found a bloke that was working from his garage, so he was still open during lockdown, and it just sort of developed slowly into place until we were allowed out again, and we done flying Fortress at Grafton.
Yep.
That was I think it was. It might not. It was very close to being the first event to run after lockdown and everything.
Yeah.
But I wish I was going there again this year. I just fell in love with the place. It's such a great little, single venue. It's got a bit of everything. Some tight, when you go into the Shackletons area, and some really tight, twisty stuff. And then it opens out, and you've got some straight, some decent sized straights and everything.
Yeah.
And it's just a great little event. Like, I don't know whether I'm biased because it was my first ever rally, but we went back in 21, and I enjoyed it just as much, sort of thing. Like, it's just a great little event.
Yeah, I think Harry's doing that event this year.
Yeah, I think he is.
I think I heard him. I'm sure he said that. I'm hoping it'll be probably my first rally this year. I can get to help him out a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. But for us, it's one of our local ones, even though it's an hour and a half. Northampton's about an hour and a half with a trailer, I think, to get there. But that's about as close as it gets to where I am. I think it was Grafton. It was the Westfield stages, which is over Bishop Stortford sort of way, but I don't think they're getting access to that military ground at the minute, and I don't think it's ever run since the lockdown. And then Abingdon is the sort of three we've got in a right. They're about as close as it gets to us.
Yeah. I suppose we've got. Yeah, I suppose we've got a few, because obviously we've got Melbourne near us up here, which obviously knocks out quite a few and all around that area. So
you're in rally territory,
club and rally territory too, right? I need to get on some, don't I, in the next couple of years. Yeah, nice.
What with the? I mean, you've got the Close Road event now, haven't you?
Yeah. That was a hell of an event.
Melbourne that does a few events. And then I suppose the track rod, I think, is one we're looking at doing later on in the year.
Track rod's awesome. I went just spectating last year. Oh man, it's so good up round there. Yeah,
I think that's, hopefully, if it all works out for us, that's another one where we've got on the list. It might be about the limit of it this season, but it was a sacrifice we knew we were taking at the beginning of the year. Just the budget side of things. It was, if we did go down this BTRDA forestry direction, we were going to be doing less events.
Yeah, until you kind of build it up, I suppose, though.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've been doing the single venues, you've been doing some of the circuit ones. Like, what was it that made you go, look at BTRDA? Obviously, it's that step up in financing a cost as well. What was it that kind of made you go, I've got to go do this now. I've got to go. We've got to go and try and do it.
I've always. I mean, BTRDA has been something I've watched on YouTube, probably more than TV, but it's something I've watched on YouTube for years, sort of thing, right? And like I say, I mean, I've been to Rally GB as a spectator numerous times over the years, and I think it is the Forest Rallying is, you know, the RAC and
Yeah.
even the RAC, the Roger Albert Clark today, sort of, it's just such a captivating event. That was sort of the love for rallying really, and
Yeah.
I mean I've got nothing against single venue ones at all, but after doing one, I was blown away by the difference between what's involved in a single venue rally
Yeah.
and the multi venue was the biggest eye opener for me instantly. Was just you're on a time schedule. 8 o'clock we left the service park. You're driving to the next stage for the 9 o'clock at the next your next time control. Then you've got a few minutes to get ready. Then you're going into get your start time, and you've got 2 minutes then, and then you're off. And you are the fact of the time space in between. I didn't expect it to be so short. If you know what I mean. I expected to sort of get there. I think, I've got 5 minutes. Sort of a bit of casual wait for the stage. But no, if you're, you really are rallying from 8 o'clock until 11:45 when we return back to service at lunchtime, and then even then it's like 45 minutes, and we've got to be driving out to go and do that next loop again. Whereas the single venue one, it was you witnessed it there. You sort of come back and you've got an hour because the stage is being used by the other 100 guys that are out there.
Yep.
And you just get it's a sort of a bit more of a leisurely feel.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than this constant conveyor belt of right, we've got to go now. Right, we've got to go now.
Yeah.
Right, the road section, and now we're going into and now you've got to go into stage, and it just blew my mind really.
Yeah.
Even though I've got such an understanding of what I just won't comprehend in it. I don't think.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, like I say, when we was at Donny with you there, I mean, he used that bit of the infield, didn't they? On there, and like a little bit. I remember you coming back after that and going, "Oh, that was awesome! Like, I need to get more of that."
Now you say it. Yeah, just getting a bit chicken. Because the thing with Donington was, I dropped it on the very first stage, and we
in the gravel trap, aren't you?
Yeah, we got quite beached in the gravel, and the kitty letter's not very nice when you get stuck in there. That was always a wow moment as well, just how quickly you just sink and just got stuck, and it was right, we're not going anywhere, that is it. And we were quite lucky to get out, and they towed us out and then let us drive out and get a stage maximum and carry on from stage 2. But from that point onwards, because I think the other guy that was in the championship with us, he'd gone out on the same stage. I think he'd retired on the same stage. There was a few things that happened, and it just took the pressure off for the championship. It was that was definitely going to be the drop score then. Out of all the rounds, we were going to drop that score. So points wouldn't matter, and the next guy was also out of the rally. And from that point onwards, I'm just enjoying it then, and that was the vibe of the day. And when you got on that infield section, and it was they say it's gravel, but it was more like a stony path really, and just getting on there and just learning the handbrake and going sideways in places that we probably shouldn't have been, and just generally messing about and enjoying the day. Yeah, I come out of there absolutely itching that I've got to go and do some gravel rallying now. But the thing was, now I think about it, it's when you get in the forest and everything, it's completely different. It wasn't like it wasn't like that. It just there is. I think because of that, there's a bit of space. When you get into the forest, it can become quite enclosed, and even though it's quite enclosed, you know that there's certain points that are either big ditches or big drops. So that element of caution at the moment goes through my brain pretty rapidly.
Yeah. I suppose that's it. You're having to learn to kind of trust a different style of notes as well,
Yes.
and trust the car, the notes. Like, I mean, I imagine it's a completely almost different thing you're having to learn again now. Although it's
Yeah.
still rallying, it's so different in it, the concept of it.
Yeah, I mean, it really was a massive learning curve for both myself and Andy had done BTRDA rounds. So I think you'd have to go back to the 80s,
Mm.
possibly in the Ashton Over Challenge. But I think they were using OS maps at the
Right.
time, just to
Yeah.
give you a general idea. It wasn't pace notes, and we got pace notes on this one. So he was in a new situation.
Yeah.
I was. It was there was a lot of it was a bit of a feeling. By the time we got back at lunchtime, there was a bit of a feeling of tension that had built in the car. Just I think we thought we were outclassed, sort of well out of our depth, sort of just a lot of sort of negative vibes in the car. And when we got out, the service guy, he turned around and went like, "Why is there so much tension?" And it was just like, "Well, this and that and this and the other." He went, "Right, it's all right. Right, the car's fine. Right, don't touch it. Leave it like we do.
Yeah.
Just do tyre pressures and the wheel nuts." Put the kettle on, and we sat there over coffee and just reflected on what we were doing. And I think we were third in class. I think there was four in class, but we were third in class. And looking at the stage times, we wasn't as far away as we felt, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it was like, we're not quite as out of touch or out of our depth as we felt doing it for the first time. But it was a morning of a lot of new experiences very quickly.
Yeah. No, that's very cool. That's it. I didn't like until he actually kind of said it. Then I didn't even think the sort of like really that difference that you're gonna get from that. But it kind of makes sense. It's a whole different ball game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, it's. I know it sounds funny to say it's a different level, but it it really it felt that way. If you know what I mean.
Mhm.
It's probably there was guys doing that event that had also done the circuit championship event. So it's you're sort of playing the same game, but I think just as an initial experience and initial take on what was going on,
Yep.
it felt like a different league.
Yeah.
I suppose that, people would say it was, but I wouldn't say to anybody don't go and have a go because you got to, it's these experiences that
Yeah.
new experiences are what we thrive on, isn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you've done two of the rallies now, aren't you, in the BTRDA? Is that right?
We've got an entry for Kilda,
Yeah.
and I don't know when the entry's out for Track Rod, but I think that's what we're looking at as the third event for the year.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. No, I'll end up trying to get to Track Rod as well to give you a cheer along, as it
Yeah.
were. Very nice.
Might be a push out of the ditch.
Yeah. Yeah. All that as well. Yeah. There
Well,
is.
we even experienced that in Wales, so we got the full experience by the end.
Yeah.
On the last stage of the day, sort of lost it, got it again, and I must have just caught it on the edge of the bank where it's soft,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it just crumbled
Okay.
away and pulled the car down. And boy, you do not realise how steep them Welsh ditches are. You sat in the car and you just think, I'm almost like vertically, sort of. And we'd done it. And we hadn't seen anybody, we didn't see any marshals or anybody, and you sat in the car in like a blind panic. It won't go anywhere. It's beached. I think we're here on our own. Nobody's around, and just as you say that, it's like spectators appear out of the. It was only
Nowhere.
two spectators, but these two lads come running down the hill out of nowhere, and between the four of us, we managed to push it into the ditch, to then drive it along the ditch to come out of the other. I managed to finish the event sort of with that, got stage maximum for that, but we finished the event, and I think we were like fourth and just about last, but it was a finish. And
Yeah. And it's
when
experience, and it was.
dropping like that, you think, oh, it's all over. Like
Yeah.
it's hard to swallow, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was a full experience.
That's it. It's an adventure at the end of the day, isn't it? And
Yeah,
it don't matter how old you get, adventures make you live. And
yeah.
that's
Yeah, it was so good that these two lads were obviously rally enthusiasts that had gone into that woods, and that I've been there once, and seen a car gone off, and you'll go running down the hill and do whatever you can to get them and go. What sport does that happen in?
yeah,
What other sport do you get? In the circuit racing, it's sort of like, well, they're stuck, and that's it. You know, football, it's, well, if you like yourself, they're off on a stretcher, aren't they? Like, but I struggle to find another reason why we all like it, aren't I?
yeah.
The rallying side of things, that sort of, everybody's just there to just get everybody to the end, like it's a big, rallying's like a big survival mission, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's it. I remember saying this to a couple of people that, like, and certainly when you're getting into like the rallies you're doing now, like, it is the ultimate. It's an endurance event. Like,
Yeah,
it really is.
yeah,
You can't. You've got to go out the gate. You've got to trust what you're doing. But at the end of the day, like, I mean, I can't imagine, but I imagine physically as well at the end of that kind of day, like.
yeah,
And even compared to the circuit stuff of the single venue, like, I can't imagine how drained you must have been at the end of the day, like, because it is a heavy endurance event, really.
yeah. I always tend to find that towards the end of the day, I either do start making some silly, even on the circuit stuff, start making some silly
Yeah,
mistakes,
yeah,
or I I just know that my concentration's not quite at the level it was, stage one, two, three, and four,
yeah,
and I've been in a situation where I've just not been switched on the last stage of the day, and you can see it in reflection, looking at your times at the end of the day compared to others,
yeah,
and yeah, it's the level of concentration I find that mentally, it sort of mentally drains this sort of thing,
yeah,
and it's keeping the mind tuned in. I mean, Snezerton was one where I think I got to a point. I sort of grew into the event at Snezerton, and I think it was around stage 3 or 4. I noticed that we were taking time out of. I think they were third at the time, and got their catchable attitude, and just once I've got that in my mind, it was the minute the thing I find with circuit events as well is, even if you're not as quick as a car that's past you, or you can see someone, there's always seems to be a target,
yeah,
or like, let's go and get, it's like the circuit racing, when you
yeah,
can see somebody, you can start trying to reel them in, and I suppose that comes out of my karting days, that sort of mentality. And
mm-hmm.
I mean, we just seemed to push on and push on at Snezerton, and I think we ended up second, with another there was another retirement, and then we did overhaul. They were then third, second, and we did them on pace in the end, and it was, that was a good day that I just tuned myself in. But once again, the Rally Nuts one was last stage of the day, and possibly a slight lapse in concentration on one point that
Yeah,
sent us that way. But
yeah,
yeah, people don't understand and see all that. They just think you're driving a car, and
yeah,
it's easy and anybody can do that. And boy, I'd say there was people that come past me in the forest, and by the time you'd thought, I'm going to try and keep up with them, I'm not, the dust is too high and I can't see where I'm going. By the time all that had gone through your head, they'd gone anyway.
yeah.
You just sat there and went, wow, they're really fast, they are. And
Nice.
they were gone to the point where you couldn't even see the dust anymore.
Yeah,
And it was like, there is a different level of driver in there.
yeah, that's it. That's I suppose, as you're developing in it, like you say, you're in this new, it's not a class, but you're in a new style of rallying to you. So,
Yeah.
as that goes and you build up. So, I suppose wrapping up now, because it's getting late.
Yeah. Problem.
Talking far too long, Mr. Andrew will be very tut.
It'd be really angry.
You will.
Well, he left us on our own,
Yeah,
and
it's his fault.
cars, motorsport, like it
Exactly.
was.
His fault. He's going off to Barcelona or something in like a day or two, so he's got all the things, you know. It's
That's what happens. Us two in sport, motorsport. I'll probably still be at 3 o'clock in the morning if somebody
so right. So yeah, I suppose finally then future plans. Couple more BTRDA events this year. Got to try and push that now. Are you kind of hooked on that vibe?
It's the one thing that sort of reels me in on that is the financial side of it at the moment, and I've think a couple more tastes to see where we are and how it goes, and just I think we've got to reassess. You know what fits the budget and what we're doing. I mean the other thing with the BTRDA, it's it's all a lot further away, so it's you've got the hotel cost. 2 days because it's a day's travelling and a day event. Like it to do a full season, it'd be a very big commitment.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no going back to the single venues. The other one that I haven't done yet that just is another itch of mine is the closed road stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't done a closed road event yet myself, and I think they're going to be a major, the sort of major future of rallying in this country. I can see being on the closed road scene. So we'll see how these next 2 events go with the BTRDA, but it's like everything I do. I like to sort of have a go at all sorts and try and be all round. Not just going to say I want to do this, that, and the other. I like to say Flying Fortress is an event I love. I think if it wasn't the week before Kildare, I would have been there this year.
Yeah.
But with it being the week before and then going to Kildare,
it's a fair journey.
There's too many risks and financial side of it and everything. It's just all too much to do 2 on the bounce sort of thing. So that was the only reason I didn't do that. But I could even do a season of just picking and choosing some events in the country that I want to do. I mean, I've yet to sort of evaluate what I am doing for where we've got to now. 2023? Wow, that seems mad. Yet to evaluate what I'm doing there, sort of concentrating on where we're going this year, and like I say, I think the experience and the learning of this year, and it sort of has taken me back a little bit, and not in a bad way, and intrigued. I think I need to have a few more goes at this before I either fully commit. I mean, some people say you do one gravel rally and then you never do another one, and I'll honestly say I've not walked out there and said that. So, it's sort of world's your oyster, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the Belgian rally is seen as well. People say you've got to go and have a go in Belgium.
And Ireland.
I don't think their neighbours would like more car in their wall all the time, though. That's the only thing that worries me about that place. I'd be in somebody's garden.
Yeah. It's interesting what you say about the closed road as well. It's I had a few people say that to me actually, which I hope it does, because growing up, that was the dream, wasn't it? That the roads, flat out on the roads.
Some of the roads that we have got in this country are, they're brilliant. Yeah. It's just gaining the access to them and being allowed to run. I mean, Middlesex, they were trying to get the Hart stages off the ground for the last 3 years, and it's just been such. At times they're working with you, and at times they're working against you, and it's just really, it's become really difficult now at the moment to get any progression on that, and whether it will come off or it won't. I mean, I don't really know at the moment, and You know, they worked. They've, you know, as a club, they've worked so hard to tick all the boxes required to still, you know, be walking into a brick wall at times. You know, it's sort of heartbreaking to even, you know, because like you said earlier on, you know, they're all volunteers. You know, they're all doing it for the love of it and all that. And but there's a number of good events around. I mean, Three Shires, that's a cracking little event. Clacton seems to. I mean, I went down there to see a bit of it. That looks like a great little event, and you know they've got it good. Yorkshire earlier in the year, haven't we? We've had that.
Riding,
and you know they're coming up. I think if the councils can understand what they are and what they're about and what they bring to an area.
Yeah, I think that's it as well. Commercially, you know.
Yeah, I think it is the answer and it will take off.
Yeah.
But it's just getting enough of these councils and people in these positions to understand. You know, I think initially a lot of people think of the negative press. You know, motors do get in towns and cities around the country for, you know, being stupid. Really, is the politest way of putting it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It's yeah, fingers crossed for it because, you know, I think it deserves to come off. Hopefully, we shall see. We shall see. Anyway, I think we should probably wrap up there now. Probably been another 45 minutes, and I'm up at 4 in the morning, and it's 10 o'clock. So
yeah. Well, thanks for having me for a couple of hours.
Yeah, no, absolute pleasure. I mean, like I said, I've kind of worked on for a while. We've had a bit of delay with things going on here for the sort of part of this year. So, yeah, thanks very much for coming on, Brett. You know, give our best to you, Dad, as well. And I'm gonna obviously follow you. Look forward to what's going to happen this year and in the future. And
thanks very much.
Hopefully,
thanks for this. I'll pass on the on, and I'm sure we will send him in return.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah, thanks very much, and I hope everybody else who's watching this enjoyed the interview, these two this week, and hopefully we'll get to an event soon and we'll get some proper vlogs doing. We tried it last time and had a catastrophic nightmare of technology. But, yeah. So, thanks again, mate. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Thanks very much, pal. Right, now do I find stop?